Medford is a great place to live. It's a small town and big city all rolled into one. There are lots of ways teenagers in Medford can actively participate in becoming a more well-rounded person and create a better future for themselves. Largely because there are many adults who actively want our young people to grow up in a positive environment. We spoke with a few of them.
I think Medford is a really neat place that is so up and coming. There's so much available.
I feel so privileged to be in this community and to be in this school system. I am as happy walking through those doors 30 years later as I was on the first day.
As a product of the city of Medford, one of the reasons why I came back here is because I thought I could make the biggest difference here in this community.
I've always loved Medford. As an employee here, I've grown and I've seen wonderful things that happen in this community. I'd love for it to continue. I try to share my knowledge base to kind of help those students become successful students, become successful thinkers, and become successful people within the community.
I've been blessed in the 4 years I've served here to have a lot of different agencies come in and offer support to our school, whether it's starting a support group clinically for children, whether it's coming to our health classes and teaching them how to eat healthy, whether it's forming an above the influence to make sure that they recognize the dangers of drugs and alcohol. It just goes on in Medford, and there's always support from the entire community.
That's one of the encouraging things that we have experienced, even as a new church here, is how would we be received? And generally speaking, people have welcomed us with open arms, and not only welcomed us, but also have wanted to work together to see Medford become a greater city than it already is.
I could tell that when it came to raising children in this community, everybody had something at stake and everyone participated.
We all have a common interest in seeing Medford thrive, seeing a vital business community, seeing a thriving arts and culture community, and having strong public schools.
No matter where you go, you can find people and you can find programming and you can find things that are interesting to do and that are helpful to do. And if you need anything in the city, I just find that people are very giving.
Medford has resources for families and young people, more than most people realize or would even imagine.
A lot of people are moving to Medford to raise their families here. It's a place that's very welcoming and has a lot of resources for families, from the library programming for young children to Wright's Pond.
Cachet through with the Circle the Square and with the Mystic River celebration.
We've had great success working with the Boys and Girls Club, Medford Housing Authority, Medford Health Matters, and even some of the school officials and leaders, just to say, hey, how can we work together and maybe put on some events in the community that will add value to what's happening in Medford.
We tend to reach out to the community, the leaders, the businesses, the clubs, as well as the parents, and we try to get everyone involved in many of the events that we host.
Medford has, I think, really begun to find little niches for different interest levels, for different age groups, for different cultural groups, for different ways of living, and is really experimenting not only with finding niches, but how all of those niches can then work together in different ways.
We said we need to start doing something to bring the people together. So we started with the Lobster Fest.
This is one time that the community really comes together and has a whole lot of fun. It's a good thing.
There's also this wonderful organization called the Medford Family Network that provides all kinds of resources and classes and play groups for young kids, but also they do things for older kids as well, and just trying to offer as much support to families as possible.
Yeah, the Medford Family Network has been great for our family, and I know for other families. The great work that Marie and her team do there to provide opportunities for kids to come together and to play, but also to learn and to have their developmental skills enhanced.
Another organization dedicated to being there for children and teens, as well as members of the community of all ages, is the West Medford Community Center.
There's a after-school program going on. It germinated over the summer. There were a couple of parents with middle school students who said, you know what, we need a place for our young children to go. And there are some other local youths who have gotten together and they're sort of creating their own program. They put together a game night for one Saturday night during the week. It brings them in, their parents come in, it's a safe environment. It's a great way for them to connect to this center because we want it to be a place for them where they can feel safe and they can also be encouraged to grow to be strong adults in our community.
It just really shows me how many people really care about trying to make Medford a more interesting, a more diverse, a more creative place.
It's a very, very exciting time to be in Medford.
These dedicated community members learn to be great role models partly from role models of their own. Their dedication to paying it forward helps make Medford a better place for our youth.
Well, I think when I was younger, to be valued and important, you have to be loved, you have to be cared for, you have to be nurtured, and I think growing up, you got that through your family, your neighbors, your teachers.
In Vietnam, actually, when I was growing up over there, I actually learned the value of family because we live as a family. And we don't have like 4 or 5 bedrooms and stuff like that, but we do things together, and that's what I learned about supporting and that family is everything.
My parents were always very supportive, very welcoming to me, and just in terms of conversation, open to talking about, things that were going on in my life and just, staying with me even through those difficult teenage years.
They communicated norms and what was important in the community.
Taught me the sense of a dollar, taught me from right and wrong, gave me the leeway, weren't so strict that I kind of turned away from them, but gave me the leeway to make my own decisions, understand what trust is, understand what the right thing to do is.
Even little things, like we would go say to like Burger King, right? And she would make me speak up and say what I want.
A fabulous quality to have is just parents that really will nurture you.
It can be 5 minutes of just saying to your 2-year-old, hey, what a great drawing. Why did you use this color? Why did you make it this way?
I think parents just have to want to find out what's going on for their kids.
And when we say parent, we are inclusive, and by that I mean a caregiver. Many children have different parents in their lives. They may have a step-parent, they may have the boyfriend of their mom, they may have grandparents and nannies and caregivers and all different kinds of parents in their lives. So I think if we honor that relationship in every way, that we help children grow to be the best they can be. And so we don't just say parents, but those who act in a parenting role. Those are responsible for the growth and development and the social and emotional competency of young children. Those are the people we want to really work with, listen to, create a system of support in Medford where they can learn and grow and find out their own strengths and how to bring out the strengths in their children.
It's the adults showing the young youth that we are committed, connected, and concerned about how we live and interact in our own community.
We do have many great role models here at Medford High School, whether it be from coaches to club advisors to teachers to administrators.
I had teachers who, they see a potential in you and they kind of, they push you to make you more of a leader. So I think I definitely appreciate that because it's definitely made me, more of a leader today.
If it wasn't for the law class at Medford High School taught by Jack McDevitt, I wouldn't be an attorney today.
Above me hanging in the banner is professional hockey players, and they were baseball players, the Sacco brothers. playing with them every day, looking at them as type of leaders, going to school at Boston University, and going on to bright futures ahead of them, being an NHL hockey coach and stuff like that. So just being around people, positive people in the community, it's a big help.
When I was growing up, I wasn't a good kid, but the community and my mother, with all their support, we had the community center down in Medford, and we had like youth groups down there. We had stuff to do, like game night and stuff, and that's what made me actually turn my life around, because I had support.
I've had a lot of great people in my life beyond my parents that have helped me, give me an example of what it looks like to really not just seek individual achievement, but also spend my life for the sake of others. So that example has been foundational for the person that I've become now in adulthood.
It's hard to talk to teenagers, so if you can grasp their attention long enough to pique their curiosity and even be able to engage and find a common interest, it will go a long way.
As adults, we've learned to communicate and are usually able to have a meaningful two-way conversation. Teens are still learning that skill, so as parents, it's okay if we need to learn how to have that dialogue.
I mean, I think young people are just waiting, like all of us, for the invitation to have meaningful conversations.
My role happens a lot more quicker than most, but in a lot of cases, I'd like to say that, we have perfect kids, but we do have kids that have lots of issues and lots of needs.
It's hard. I know, being a father myself, I don't always know what's going on with my children but I know what's going on with all the other children. And a lot of times, kids will talk to people other than their parents. And that's something that's hard for parents. It's been hard for me, but you have to accept that that's one of the dynamics of adolescence.
Teens don't necessarily want your eye contact, but if you can be next to them doing something else, you're going to get the most out of that teen in terms of conversation, in terms of what's in their hearts, what they want to have happen. And those are the kinds of little things that we talk about in the Family Network, how to be in relationship with different developmental stages and how to get the best out of ourselves and our kids.
Kids a lot of times don't realize, they don't see the full picture. And if you explain it to them in a non-confrontational way, in a way that really just, this is kind of the way it is and here's some real stories, it really gets them talking. And beyond talking, gets them to open up and tell you things that you may not have realized.
Any kid who come in, of course, they get nervous to speak up. So I ask them usually share what their win is, okay? The win is something that they did for them, So to empower them to do that, I have to be the first one who share.
I really believe that something that you say to a child, even early in life, can impact their life later.
Even young kids really grasp onto it and are really interested in learning about music and how it works and what it means.
We have family concerts every Tuesday night at Wrights Pond, and so I am very able and lucky to be able to engage in conversation with young children all the time about the music, about dancing, I bring books with me, about the books we're reading, about gross motor play, about challenging yourself.
Being a baseball coach at the high school, you deal with every facet of people with two parents at home, one parent at home, and being to interact. It's not only about baseball, it's being able to teach them how to be young adults and how to handle adversity.
A lot of times I'll get involved with the kids around what's going on with them, not just working that day, but what's going on with them on their teams or in their games or in their leisure time or what's going on at school.
I do a lot of volunteer work, so I work with a lot of teenagers, and them too I tell them all the time that they can come to my house anytime they want if they have a problem.
Just listen. Listen to what they have to say. Take part in what they're doing. Everyone talks about social media. Join social media. Read about social media. Understand the fact that while you're on Facebook, your grandparents may be on Facebook, your high school student probably isn't. Or they have an account that looks like they're on Facebook, but they're really not. And it's understanding that. It's understanding what they're doing. It's understanding what they're doing with Twitter or texting. And really understanding that social media isn't about marketing, but about communication.
There should be a joy in getting to know people and a curiosity. I think that's a curiosity for finding out what is important to every other person and how that relates to you and how you live your life and how you can learn from that.
After more than 600 studies on positive youth development, the Search Institute has identified 40 positive experiences and qualities that can enrich the mental and social growth of children and teens. They're called the 40 developmental assets. They're spread across 8 broad areas of development. The first 4 focus on support, empowerment, boundaries and expectations, and constructive use of time, external relationships and activities that create a positive environment for young people. The next 4 focus on commitment to learning, positive values, social competencies, and positive identity. Values, skills, and beliefs that young people also need to be fully engaged with and function in the world around them.
It was funny when I read the 40 developmental assets. The first thing I thought of was, man, this should be every parent's guide to raising children, because I know it's a lot of things that we tried to do as parents. My husband and I were very wanted to be open and communicate with them and tell them what their boundaries were and what we expect, that there are consequences for things.
I feel like I experienced family support, relationships with other adults, caring neighborhood.
Neighborhoods were very big when I was growing up in Medford. We were all about neighborhood. We were all about enjoying the life that we had.
You know your neighbors. You know your neighbors. And that from where I was little and now that I'm older, it's really diverse. And I think diversity is good in a neighborhood.
Knowing a variety of people, a variety of ages of people. We had a wonderful elderly woman who lived next door to us when we were growing up. So I told you I come from a large family, so imagine what it's like being an elderly single woman next to a house full of young children and all running around in all hours of the day. And yet she was the most wonderful lady to know. She used to play the mandolin on her front porch on a summer night, and she would invite any of us who were out and around to come up and play with her and listen to her and sing with her while she plays her mandolin. So she never had any issue that we were 12 and she, I don't know, she probably was my age now, but seemed much older then.
There were high expectations that were placed on me at times, and I know that was invaluable, because I think sometimes we treat children like babies and teenagers like children, and we really need to expect more from our youth and give them opportunities to serve and lead and be challenged and even fail, because we certainly need to learn from both our successes and failures in life.
You know, maybe they don't do something, they're not the best, person at drawing in the whole world, but they really want to try it, and they do it, and they can improve, and they can see themselves build a skill, and I think that helps with self-esteem.
I'm in school and I'm trying to get A's, and then I try to tell my siblings that, hey, you guys should really work really, really hard, and then if you work really, really hard, then you can get what you want. So then the kids follow my direction, and then they tell their friends, and they're like, hey, you should do this because I'm getting A's and you're getting C's. Can I help you?
One that catches my eye that we're trying to work on here at Medford High School is service to others. We're really trying to see if we can instill the value of giving back to the community, to our students. In fact, we have a graduation requirements at Medford High School where students are required to put in place 60 hours of community service during that time.
Community service project that I'm most proud of is our reading to the elementary. And the new kids in the club go kicking and screaming like, no, you're going to volunteer and you're going to like it, and this is what you're going to do. And so they spend their time doing it, and then they go down there, and then they're right up there to sign up for the next time.
The adults need to keep working at it and keep working at it and saying, here are opportunities, and I'm sure that we will get more and more young people to say, these are the activities that I want to do. I want to build in my community and not do things that break it down.
So we have the farmers market assistant manager who's great. There was actually a young woman who came to the market again. She volunteered for the market 3 years ago, and she actually contacted me recently asking if she could come back and do some more time at the market. So it was great. So I loved having her, and as it turns out, yesterday there was a small emergency at the market, and I couldn't be there as quickly as I might have been otherwise, and so thankfully she was there. And so I felt good in telling her at the end of the day, we're so glad that you came today, because our emergency would have been much bigger and much more serious had she not been there.
Honesty, I would say, is big because just when I was growing up, in my culture, it's very strict. It's like if you don't honor us, there's nothing behind that.
And whenever I tried to manipulate that or keep things from my mom or for whoever was trying to help me, that would get me into more difficult situations than if I was just honest, even if what I was saying was I made a big mistake.
If I do wrong, a lot of time, if you acknowledge that, integrity with yourself, you know where you are, then it's easy for you to move forward. But if you're not integrity with yourself, it's hard to move forward.
I think, one thing that the message we send to kids here is that there's a class that they take every day, every minute of every day that's not on their transcript, and that's about their character. We take that very seriously. We feel like in middle school, you don't always have to be a straight A student to be successful in the world, but you do need to know how to communicate with people. You need to know how to work out your differences. You need to know how to compromise. You need to appreciate that honorable people can disagree.
We all hear about, teenagers testing the boundaries, but there's a reason for it. You want to know, well, how far should I go? And experience, but also somebody has to show you, well, this is what's expected. Because if no one shows you or communicates, you may not behave properly or up to someone's expectations.
I think youth programs as well. Myself and one of my friends, we were kind of like the base and the creators of Team TAD. And I don't know, I did that all throughout high school. It definitely helped to construct who I am today. Definitely helped me to be a leader.
The nice thing about Medford really is just how much support you can receive from the community as well as the school system. So I really feel like out of the 40 developmental assets, I can say that probably you can knock off all 40 of them. I don't know how long you'd like me to take. I can take all day.
Community service can be an invaluable way for young people to build character while helping others. It's also a great way for teens to show their value, impress people, develop leadership skills, and even make connections.
It's really nice when you see somebody who's coming to help out an event or a function or a fundraiser who wants to be there because they want to be there. So I think volunteerism is probably the best way students and teenagers can get involved in the community and make it a better place.
Here at Medford High School, we try to provide or try to give the students the incentive to give back to their community with the community service requirement. We say that by the time you graduate, we want you to do 60 hours of community service.
They get to go to the nursing homes. They get to go to the daycare centers. I know my English as a second language students helped with the language program for adults. They would babysit after school in a daycare room while the adults, many of them being their parents, would learn English.
Many of the children who were children with me years ago are now actually part of the Family Network, receiving community service hours, working with me in a variety of ways, and not just with me, but other parts of the community.
You can't stress enough, get involved with your youth leagues, get involved with your community, your churches, the YMCA.
I love the fact that St. Mary feels the older kids work with the younger kids. I think that's great. It gives a real good feeling for them to go down and help the younger kids. The younger kids look up to the older kids.
A lot of the students go down to the Mystic River and they participate in the Mystic River cleanup. And they participate in that, and they try to give back to their community by doing an event like that when they feel very positively coming out of it.
We are always looking for volunteers to help with Circle the Square and with the festival.
Certainly Circle the Square, we've had a lot of involvement from various student groups, different performers, kids who are doing fundraisers and want to have a public exposure, plus of course a whole bunch of students who have volunteered with Circle the Square, so they get the opportunity to get some sort of hands-on experience in learning about running a program like what we're doing.
They're introducing themselves to people that may be helpful to them in their endeavors when they're in college or in their careers. So I think it will benefit them as well.
We have our mural that's outside. I mean, that was all community-based as well. I mean, the kids did a whole bunch of it here, but we had a community paint day where parents came in who wanted to work on the mural.
We were involved in the switch box or the traffic box program, where we engaged teenagers and adults. They had to be together, work on a project, come up with an idea. We wanted it to talk about the positives of Medford. It's funny, I get a call one day from Alabama. Hey, I saw this news report about these switch boxes you're doing, and I had a woman from Waltham call me. I drove by Medford the other day. It's funny. It's spread like wildfire. It really has.
At after-school programs, students often discover other like-minded teens who don't drink or do drugs. Students who want to pitch in and make their school and community an even better place. A recent event at Medford High School called the Teen Summit was just one example. It was a fun afternoon in which teens got the chance to collaborate, practice problem solving, and foster leadership skills. Just as importantly, they got to witness firsthand and recognize those abilities in their peers and themselves.
We have an above the influence program here. We have peer leadership, because we also want kids not to always feel like the adults have to help them, that they can help each other and promote that kind of responsibility.
And like a lot of teens doing like drugs and drinking alcohol and stuff like that. And most of that, some of it is true, but most teens don't do that. My peers never pressure me into this stuff. I've never done it myself, and I know very few people that have.
We have a Builders Club that's very active.
The Kiwanis that I belong to, the Builders Club.
They do a lot of charity work, not just for this city, but for the world.
They fundraise, they decide where the money goes.
After the Haitian earthquake, we have a lot of students here from Haiti. We were able to put together a fundraiser within 2 days and raised a couple $1,000s to send down to help those families.
They're learning at a young age that what they do, that they may be kids, but they can raise a lot of money and they can make a difference.
From 2006 to 2011, a community youth group was formed called Team TAD, Teens Against Drinking and Drugs. The meeting started in South Medford and later expanded to a second group in West Medford. The goal of the group was to find opportunities to engage the community as a whole, including teens and adults, that teens are doing good things for their community, family, and friends, and that being substance-free is the norm.
Two of us, myself and one of the other girls, they flew us out to Ohio for the Search Institute conference. We were doing, say, compliance checks with the different police stations around the area. We went to roll call briefings at Medford Police just to pretty much inform them of the good that the youth are doing in the community. Our mission was definitely to change the stereotype that all teens are doing drugs and drinking. That was our main thing. It wasn't really to go after teens and say stop drinking, but definitely to show the community the positive that was going on as far as the youth, and to definitely build that bond and create that bridge between the older members of the community and the younger members of the community.
There are a tremendous opportunity for kids to get involved in Medford, and one of the things I think is the most exciting is that Medford's a very open community, and if you come up with a great idea, I bet, even if it's not being done, you'll get people to stand behind you and take part and make it happen.
It's about finding the resources in this community, right? Because there's a lot. And if you can't find what you want, create it. Simple.
If you have an idea, if there's something you see, make it happen. You can.
If you don't see it, create it. That's all you have to do. It's simple.
Well, I just want to thank you for your time for stopping by this dojo, and anybody would like to come in and say hello or even ask me to hold a pad, I would love to hold for you.
We've definitely been encouraged by our short time here and look forward to seeing, what Medford's going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. It'll be fun to see the changes that continue to develop to make it a greater place.
I just love this community, and I love the excitement. I love it feels fresh and new all the time. So I am honored to have a place in Medford, and hope I can do that for a long time.
Medford's awesome.